This is my second time here. They actually got to have me back, so that's cool. I appreciate them having me back. My first special came out about a year and a half ago, and it did better than I ever could expected. But it was the first thing I ever had out there that had enough traction where people would actually leave comments on my comedy. And I'm stupid enough where I will read those comments. But I'm also a comedian, so I only notice the negative parts of it, you know? And the one guy that got me, that bugged me, he just had a 4-word comment after my set. 4 words after the end of it, and just 4 words, and it just said, "A fat Harry Potter." Not exactly constructive criticism is what I'm getting at. But I was talking to my wife about this. She said, why do you read that? I said, this guy called me a fat Harry Potter. I looked at her, I was like, Danny, do I look like Harry Potter? She's like, Chad, you do not look like Harry Potter. And I said, am I fat? And she said, Chad, you do not look like Harry Potter. I understand sometimes people just don't know what to say after a show. I get it. I had a woman come up to me after a show, and she said, I would like to give you a compliment. I said, okay, what's that? She said, I'm not sure if you're funnier than the other guy, but he's better looking. I said, I'm not sure you know what the word compliment means. But I've been on stage about a minute now, and I haven't been physically escorted off stage, which means by definition, this can't be the worst show that I've ever had. Yeah, because here's that story. I was doing some stuff in Atlanta, and I was driving back to Missouri. Now, if you know anything about geography, I have to go across the very western part of Tennessee. As I'm going through there, a guy calls me, it's a comedy booker, and he said, hey, I just checked your schedule. Is there any chance you're near such and such Tennessee? And I punched it up, I'm like, yeah, I'm like 20 minutes from there. He said, that's amazing. He said, I just had a guy cancel a show on me. He said, it starts in about an hour. He said, why don't you just go by and do the show? Just tell him you're him. Always a good start. They're going to pay you in cash. I'll even bonus you for bailing me out, and then you can go on home. So I get to this gig, and it was for the Tennessee chapter of PETA, the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals. Now, I have just given you a piece of information that I didn't get. So I go up there, I tell my first joke, everything, ha, 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 we're off and running, right? Now, the whole venue, it's kind of set up like this. The stage is higher, and it's metal folding chairs. And it's along the rectangle in front row of these chairs. All these women are holding small dogs. Like, what's the story with these dogs? And they said, these are our therapy animals. And I said, I've heard that phrase before, but what exactly does that mean? And the guy in the back yells out, he goes, those are animals that help keep us calm and relaxed. All right. Guy goes, do you have a therapy animal? I was like, well, I guess mine's a cow. He's like, how is a cow a therapy animal? I said, well, it keeps me calm and relaxed to know I have a freezer full of beef. Physically escorted out the door by 2 80-year-olds wearing matching cat sweaters. That's kind of the way that went. But it is great to be here. And you will hear every comedian in the world say, oh, it's great to be here, it's great to be here. And what that really means in the comedian world is it's great to be getting paid. That's what that means. You know, I'm not trying to destroy the illusion of comedy for anybody, but if we were doing this across the street in the pharmacy, it'd be great to be there. I mean, that's just kind of the way things work. But I've got a little bit of a different story for that now because I work cruise ships every once in a while. And I was supposed to take a boat, and my flight coming out of Dallas-Fort Worth got delayed, and the boat left without me. Now, what the cruise lines do when this happens, they fly you ahead to the next port city. So that way, when the boat gets there, you're already there, and you just catch the boat and make up any shows. If you missed them, that's the way they take care of those things. So that's what it did. I was supposed to catch a boat out of Cozumel, and they fly me ahead, and I stay at the hotel, start to leave the next morning, and the girl said, okay, the van's going to be on your way to pick you up. I was like, okay, that sounds good. I said, how far am I away from the boat? She goes, like 4 or 5. I'm like, oh, perfect. So I'll be on the boat in like 20 minutes. And she said, no, 4 to 5 hours. 4 to 5 hours. And then the first part of the conversation replays in my head, the van's going to pick you up. I'm going to be in a van? going across Mexico for 4 to 5 hours? I've seen Forensic Files. I know how some of these stories start off, you know. So the van comes and picks me up and we leave. Super nice guy, but he looked at me and he said, "Do you talk the Spanish?" "No." He said, "I don't talk the English." And I said, "I picked up on that." And he said, "How about radio?" And there's one working speaker behind my head. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's listen to the radio. And this guy loved Whitney Houston, which was really weird to me, you know. Because we're driving 4 hours across the back parts of Mexico, the parts that you don't see on the travel brochures. I mean, we're seeing the abandoned cars and the burned out buildings and everything's got graffiti on. I'm kind of looking at all this, and it's kind of sad. And the whole time I've got, I want to dance with somebody in my head. It was so weird, right? So we finally, around the corner, and I can see the top of the boat. I'm like, finally. As we're going up there, the Mexican police go and they form a single file line across this road we're supposed to go up. And I thought, oh, well, this can't get any worse. As I think that, about 20 yards behind them, the Mexican military line up behind them. I mean, fatigues, automatic weapons, the real thing. I was like, oh, I stand corrected. This has got much, much worse. And the guy goes up there and he rolls down the window. Now, I don't know what they're saying because, number one, I don't talk the Spanish. And number two, I can't hear him anyway because I have "I Will Always Love You" blasting at 8,000 decibels in my head. So he goes up there, he makes this little horseshoe turn, he turns around and looks at me and goes, "You must get out." And I said, "Well, how am I supposed to get to the boat?" And he said, "Walk." And I said, "Is everything okay?" And he said, "No." And I said, "You picked up on that English pretty quick." So I had to get out of the van and walk the last quarter of a mile, dragging my bags through gravel and dirt as the Mexican military are on both sides of me, finger on triggers, just waiting for me to do something wrong so they can open up fire on me. So when I tell you tonight, Provo, that it is great to be here, I mean it is fantastic to be here. It's always nice coming to cities to work. I come from about 900 people, so this is a big city to me. But I see it as a city for different reasons. You know, I was driving around today. I passed a Dollar Tree and a Dollar General. You people are big time as far as I'm concerned. Holy cow, look at this place. I don't do a lot of preaching when I'm here. A lot of comments get up here and tell you what to think and what to believe and who to vote for. You're big people. Figure that out for yourself. It's not my job. But if I have any advice, it's for the guys in the crowd. Fellas, learn to appreciate the Dollar Tree. That's about as deep as I get up here. Women love that store. That place is magic. That's the only store my wife and I don't fight in. That's it. You put us in the middle of Dollar Tree, we're the most happily married couple you'll ever see in your life. You see us walking out of Walmart or Target, somebody's usually hurt, you know. But I love a store like the Dollar Tree because I finally have a place now where I can take my wife and go, "Baby, anything here you want." But she legitimately likes shopping there. She will buy so much stuff at the Dollar Tree, she'll confuse the employees. She asked the guy behind the counter and said, "Well, do you guys take checks?" And he was like, "I don't know. No one's ever bought that much crap at one time before." I'm not sure. This should be the part of the show where I tell you about all these exciting adventures I have on the road, you know, but I really don't have any. I got kicked out of a Lowe's Hardware last month. That was kind of weird. Because I go there at the beginning of September and they're setting up the Christmas displays in September. And the girl walks up to me and said, "Sir, can I help you find anything?" I said, "Yeah, do you sell calendars?" And she said, "Yes, we do." I said, "Does anybody here know how to read one?" I was doing some stuff in Lexington. I was driving back to Missouri. My buddy called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Right now, I'm driving through Illinois." He said, "That is so ironic. My aunt used to live in Indiana." What do you know? I know you need to look up the word ironic. That's not, actually. Last time I was in Indiana, I went by this auction. I'm a big auction, you know, garage sale kind of guy. And at the auction, they started to auction off food. And the guy goes, "Okay, our first food item up for bid is some tortillas." Right, that's what I did. Woman in front of me hears me, knows what I'm laughing about, just turns around and glares at me and says, "Well, he's just saying it the way it's spelled." Who cares? It's still wrong. What kind of logic is that? She said, you shouldn't laugh at him in public. You could hurt his self-esteem. I'm like, really? Who told you that? A psychiatrist? You guys are good, man. That'd stun you how many times that joke gets missed. You guys are pretty good. That's all right. You guys are good. I guess if I do have a story, it's this one. I was doing some stuff out in L.A., flew out of Kansas City. Now, we had to make an emergency stop in Denver because the pilot explained to us they miscalculated the distance to Los Angeles. I thought distance would have been one of those little pesky details they would have had worked out ahead of time. But apparently nobody at Delta Airlines ever heard of Google Maps or anything. So now we're on a time like 4, 5, 6 hours waiting for our flight. We're the emergency flight. So we fly out, get our window. We get into LAX. It is a ghost town. They ask who has luggage, and there's about 4 of us that have luggage. They said, we're going to take you down to the VIP carousel because luggage comes out quicker down there. So they lead us down there. And I'm going through this thing, and everybody else gets their luggage, and I'm just waiting. It's just me, and I see my bags, and I grab them, and as I turn to rip them off the carousel, there's a guy behind me I didn't see, and boom, bang into him. As I'm looking over, he stumbles over, his glasses fall off and everything, and I start to apologize, and he looks over at me, and it's Brad Pitt. And we have this really in-depth, meaningful conversation, one-on-one in the basement at LAX Airport, just me and him, like, oh, dude, I am really sorry. He's like, oh, don't worry about it, walks off. Yeah. So I was telling my wife about that. She said, that's amazing. Did you get your picture taken with him? No. Why not? Why would I do that? She said, then I'd have a picture I could show all my friends, you standing next to Brad Pitt. That is not something I want her to possess. Photographic evidence where she can go, yeah, this is the guy I always wanted. He kind of does look like fat Harry Potter, doesn't he? I can see that, yeah. I can see that. Now that you say that. I talk about my wife a lot when I'm on stage, and she's great. You know, we've been around each other for a long time. We came in the same class. You know, we were in the same grade. In a school where kindergarten through 12th grade is all in one building. You know, it's a really small class, so I've always known her. She is the first girl in 3rd grade where I ever remember looking at somebody else and thinking she was cute before I even really understood what that meant. We grew up, we were always classmates, always friends, dated once or twice in high school, nothing really came of it. We go our separate ways after high school. We come back years later, we get engaged, bring together the blended family, you know, get married. We've been married almost 10 years, and I'm as happy now as I've ever been at any point in my life. In some capacity, whether it's wife, fiance, classmate, friend, or 3rd grade crush, she has been a part of my life for almost 40 years, and I still don't understand a thing about her. We started to go to the movies the other night, and she gets in the Jeep, and she's got a pillow and a blanket. I said, did you say movies or moving? She goes, no, I just want to be comfortable. Okay. About 10 minutes down the road, she says, can you turn down the air? I'm hot. No, I can't. Well, Chad, I'm hot. Well, throw your double comforter in the back seat. Maybe you cool off a little bit. Chad, you're swerving all over the road. Yeah, I'm getting hit by the side by your twin-size mattress every time I make a right-hand turn. Yeah. I woke up one morning and she was mad. I woke up. She was mad. Just staying in the bathroom doorway, just glaring at me. She might have been there like 3:30 in the morning. I have no idea. Like, hey, baby, how'd you sleep? Oh, like you care. Boom. She comes walking back out. I'm like, what's going on? She said, I'm tired of you flirting with other girls. Well, what are you talking about? Well, last night I had this dream. Hold up. Yeah, that's the finger point joke right there. That's what that one is, yeah. I said, this happened in a dream? Yeah. Okay. Because now I have to see how crazy this is going to get, you know. Yeah, I said, I know how you like brunettes. Sitting there talking to this little brunette, talking with her, flirting with her. You're lucky I didn't go fight her. I'm lucky that in your dream, You didn't go fight the girl that doesn't exist. I'm not really sure how that's me dodging a bullet, in all honesty. I didn't talk to you the whole bus right there. What bus? We're on a school bus. Why are we on a school bus? Where are we going? Vanilla Ice concert? Let me tell you something. You put me on a school bus to go see Vanilla Ice, I might try to start talking with a brunette. It's older, man. I'm getting older. I'm at a point in my life where, like, the left side of my head or the other side of my head, like, when I'm not a young guy, and I know that, but I don't feel old. And so, like, those two things come in conflict every once in a while, and I just look at things a little bit differently. Like, I'm to the age now where I'm not even really attracted to girls. I still find women beautiful by nature, but like a 22, 23, 21-year-old girl, I don't even notice them anymore. I'm that guy. It doesn't matter how hot they are because eventually they'll talk. I know that's mean to say. Chad, you probably shouldn't say that. Old guy part of my head's like, what do you care? You're going to leave the show, go back and take a bath and soak your back before you watch Frasier reruns. What do you care? Doesn't matter. It's just they do things now that bug me. You know, like they change the spelling of their normal names so they're unique and mysterious, and just, can't stand it. I was signing something for a girl after a show one night. She said, yeah, can you make that out to Cindy? Sure. Should I tell you how to spell it? Didn't think so. C-I-N-D-Y? No, it's S-I-N-D-I. What? Make this one out to Dawn. D-A-W-N? No, D-H-O-W-H-N. What are you doing? Is that the rule now? You just pick any name, spell it how you want? Fine, I'm going to do that. I'm going to change my name. I'm going to spell it Z-J-K-P-P-N-Q. Really, what's your name? Ed. I read a story about a teenage girl that was carjacked in Oklahoma. She pulls up to a stoplight. Guy walks over, opens the door, grabs her, throws her out, gets in her car, slams the door, takes off. Now, she is wearing a zip-up hooded sweatshirt, and the hood gets caught in the door. She's getting dragged down the street. As she's being dragged, she reaches into her pocket, pulls out her cell phone, dials 911. This part of my head's like, oh, that's pretty smart. She's really lucky. And this part of my head's like, is there not a situation where a teenage girl won't get on a phone? And that one night, a woman in the back of us goes, well, funny boy, what would you have done? I don't know, probably this. It's just me. I'm older, man, getting out of shape. You want to know how you know you're getting out of shape? When you get out of breath blowing on the food to cool it down that you're trying to eat. It's a big hint. So I got to start exercising more. That's the thing. I'm looking at the machine I can buy and take on the road with me. And here it is. I'm watching the infomercial. And here's the big picture of the guy at the before picture. What did he look like before? And here's the machine. And he's working out with it. He's real vigorous on it. That's what he looks like in the after picture. I'm like, man, maybe I should buy that thing. Work out with it just 3 times a week for 20 minutes each time. And maybe I could look like that guy in the before picture. You guys left me hanging on that one for a second. I'm not even going to lie to you. I know that I eat poorly. I know that it doesn't escape my attention, but everybody wants to tell me how to eat. I'm driving overnight one time, tired, just ready to get home, order some stuff in the drive-thru around the corner, and there's a woman standing outside of her car stopping me. I said, are you okay? And she said, yes, don't go get your food yet. Why? I said, because I told them we didn't want the food that they had already prepared. We wanted our food prepared fresh. Lady, I just ordered 3 cheeseburgers off the dollar menu at McDonald's at 2:45 in the morning. I am well aware of the level of cuisine I'm about ready to have. Why don't you get out of my way while the chef prepares yours the way you want it? Let him throw my fat in a sack and get on down the road. I've got places to be. I was at a nice restaurant one time and the waitress walked over and said, have you had time to look at the menu? Yes, I have. What can I get you? I said, I'm a very basic, straightforward kind of eater. How about like a steak and a baked potato? She said, okay, perfect. How would you like your potato? Baked. I thought I hit that a second ago. Did I not run through that already? She goes, no, I have 22 different ways I can prepare a baked potato. Would you like to hear the list? No, I don't want to hear the list. Make it hot. Put it in your pocket and walk around with it for a second. I don't care. Heat it up. How would you like your steak? Well done. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't prepare our steaks well done. Well, that's okay because it's not our steak. I'm not trying to sound like a horrible person here, but I planned on eating it all by myself, you know? She said, no, the cooks won't prepare it that way, but you can have it done any other way. Oh, any other way? Do you do medium? Yes, we do. We'll do that twice. I've got a buddy that's really into juicing. He's like, man, if you juice fruits and vegetables, you get so many more vitamins and nutrients. I said, let me make you some. I don't know. Come on, let me. Well, what's in it? Well, this has kale and carrots. No. He's like, no, I'm also going to put some beets in it. Oh, good. There for a second, I thought it was going to taste like crap. Glad you added some of those plump, delicious beets I've been craving. You could mix in a little broken concrete and rock salt and really help wash that down. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. You do insane things to try and stay in shape. Though I had some people come up to me after a show and was like, hey man, let me ask you a question. Do you play volleyball? I was like, oh yeah. When actually the correct answer is, oh no. They asked me a personal question about myself to my face and I got it wrong. That is very difficult to do. They said, we really don't need you to play, but it's like our big championship game. We thought it'd be cool if you just like stay on the side and kind of make some jokes. I'm like, hey man, that's cool, I can do that. So I get there and I've got an old pair of basketball shorts on, like a t-shirt from the Chuckle Hut in Tennessee or wherever it's from. And my teammates come in and they're all in these really nice looking uniforms. I'm like, guys, I don't have a uniform. Like, it doesn't matter, you're not going to be playing. Perfect, I'm going to get away with this. And they're warming up, and I'm out there helping best I can, and they're loving me, right? Till a guy gets a phone call, he goes, okay. And he looks over at me and goes, we've got it covered, don't worry about it. I don't know what he's getting ready to say, but we don't got it covered. I do know that. And he points at me and goes, you got to play. Hold up. We talked about this. I wasn't supposed to play. He goes, no, 4 guys riding together, their Jeep broke down the interstate, they're not going to make it. If we don't start the game with 6, we're disqualified. You're number 6. And the guy walks in, he's like, hey man, just have a little fun and reach out to give me one of those, you know? And right when I get about right here, somebody yelled at me and they go, hey Thornsberry, and I look away and I missed. I didn't connect that, which should have been their first clue that I might not be the athlete that they were banking on. And we get in our little huddle, and the guy goes, okay, we're going to go cross-face rotation on 2. I don't know what that means. And he gets mad. He goes, cross-face rotation on 2. Yeah, the volume wasn't throwing me off. It's not where you lost me. He said, just stand in the corner of the playing area and try to stay out of the way. Hey, that was my plan from the beginning there, Tim. I don't know what your plan was, but that's what I had to do. It's like, watch out, they've got Andy serving. Who's Andy? Andy was a 3-time All-American at the University of Oregon. He was a reserve for the U.S. men's Olympic volleyball team. And said he's got this weird ability to figure out the weakest player on the opposing team and will attack him. Oh, like a guy not wearing a friggin' uniform? Sherlock Andy can CSI those clues together, can he? Wonderful what they teach in Oregon. I wish this story had a better ending. I really do. Andy served the ball to me 15 times in a row because he is a horrible human being. After the 3rd point, his team goes and sits down. They're just sitting on the side, just texting. probably my guys on my team that aren't getting missiles fired at 85 miles an hour every 7 seconds. Man, this guy sucks. Well, I know that we had to get somebody. I know that. Why is he crying or whatever they were saying? I really don't know if that's what they were talking. We lose 15-0. Their championship season destroyed 1,000%. My fault. Everybody's mad. Everybody leaves. One guy walks back over to him and is like, hey, man, no, it's not your thing. I appreciate your training. He goes, oh, you can't do that either. And walks off. All right. I got to get out of here. Boy, you guys have been cool. This is the fun part for me. Life is what happens out there, but this is the fun stuff. But I've got to get back when all this is done and go back to life. I got a call from MasterCard before I left. Said, we need to speak to Mr. Thornsberry. I said, this is he. They said, we called to report some unusual activity on your account. I said, really? What happened? And they said, somebody made a payment. I'm just glad you guys get that joke. That makes me feel very comfortable up here. I'm always afraid like I'm going to be working some really rich golf country club crowd. Like, what's this credit he's talking about? I shan't have a clue, or whatever they say. I really don't know what that's like. Apparently, I think rich people use the contraction shan't incorrectly, is what I think. But I was reading an article that said 64% of Americans will have credit issues at some point in their life, which I believe is true, but the article didn't explain the kind of things that people will do to escape creditors. I had a buddy walk up to the club one night, hands me his phone, and said, hey, it's Citibank. Answer my phone for me in Spanish. All right, I took a year of high school Spanish. I was like, hola. I don't guess you caught what I was doing. She said, yes, my name is Cindy. I need to speak to Tony. I was like, no habla inglés. She's like, oh, lo siento, mi amo Cindy. ¿Necesita hablar con Antonio? He goes, what did she say? She said, you're screwed, essay. Guys, I got to go. I appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much. Hey, guys, how are you? Yeah. Okay. It's a very awkward way to start. I appreciate you guys coming out here. I know you have other things that you could be doing. I appreciate you guys coming out here to do this, and I mean that sincerely. Okay, let's get into this. Tell me who was wrong on this. I was coming in off the road the other day, and I stopped and I got a soda at McDonald's, $1.08, okay? Pull up to the window, and the girl said, did you have the soda? Yes, I did. And she said, well, the guy in front of you paid for you. Now, I know how this is supposed to work. I'm supposed to pay for the people behind me. They pay for the people behind them, and somehow that makes us a better world somehow. Except I look in the rearview mirror, and I've got an SUV behind me with about 8 kids. And I'm not paying $85 for a soda. But she's in the window and she can literally look down on me. She goes, well, the guy in front of you paid for you. I'm like, well, if I see him, I'll say thanks, and left. And so I'm telling my wife about this. She said, well, you're supposed to pay for the people behind you. I know that. I'm not going to do that. She said, we can afford it. That's not the point. She said, well, don't you believe in karma? Yeah, I believe in karma. I just got a free soda. That's karma telling me I'm not that bad of a guy. That's what that is. I had to fly out one time. And I come from a very rural part of the country, which we'll get to here in a second. And the closest airport's about 3 hours away. So I didn't want to leave my truck at the airport for like 4 weeks when I was going to be gone. So what I did, I went to a local Army base, and they flew me out to the larger airport. It was one of those really small Cessnas, like those 8-seat planes. And I'd never flown on one of those before. And I'm looking out the window with this plane, and we're in a line. I hear the woman in front of me say 140. I don't know what that means. But now it's my turn. I walk up there, and she said, are you flying to St. Louis? Yes, I am. She said, well, how much do you weigh? Why do you need to know how much I weigh? She said, because we base boarding the plane according to the passenger's weight, so that way the wings stay balanced. She said, but the first thing I need to do is to get your bags. No, the first thing you need to do is to get her back over here, because there's no way she weighs 140. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody here, But I'm not going to wind up a story on the news because this woman doesn't want to admit she slides through Burger King every once in a while. That's not my problem. So now I have to stand over to the side and like calculate all the lies that everybody else is telling. 140, no, you're not 140. The guy walked up there, he's like, I probably weigh 175. Yeah, in high school you weighed 175. So finally it's my turn. It's like, Mr. Thornsberry, how much do you weigh? Apparently 844 pounds. Wonderful. I don't come from a big city like this. I grew up in a trailer park, as by now you've guessed. I had somebody ask me the other day if this is my real voice. Like if I had the talent to do voices, this is the one I'm picking. He's like, man, don't worry about it. Women love guys with accents. No, they don't. They like guys with good accents. And I see the difference because I'm working with a buddy of mine. He's a comic. He's from Australia. And he's got that big, thick Aussie, that English sound. Yeah, a lot of women find that really sexy. And I have this. And they hear my buddy talks like, wow, did you hear that accent? I bet that means he is great with women. And they hear me talk like, wow, did you hear that accent? I bet that means he can fix my tractor. Which I can, but that's not the point. That's completely not what I'm talking about. Grew up, still live in a small town in Missouri. It's called Crocker. Its population about 900, give or take. And people are always asking, like, man, how can you live in a town that small? Well, I have advantages you guys don't have. I'll never be the victim of an internet scam. I'm getting set up for my fantasy baseball this year, and an ad pops up for a one-time credit card payment of $99.95. We can send you the links and addresses of 8,000 hot and available women in your town tonight. No, you can't. Incorrect. I understand why people make fun of where I come from. I get it. I know a guy that wants to date his cousin. I know that guy. And he's asked my advice. He goes, man, what do you think? No. Would be my assessment of that. No. And he's all upset, like, well, you know, are you serious, man? Are you serious? He goes, no, it's not what you're thinking. We just have a lot in common. Yeah, like uncles. Now, a lot of comics, they get up here and they bash marriage and they rip their wives. It's a very popular thing to do. It can be very funny. I get that. I really don't do that. I am married myself. I love my wife. She's absolutely incredible. And with all the stuff going on, it's very comforting for me in the world. You know, all these people getting divorced. It's very comforting for me. I know that we will never get divorced, ever. You want to know how I know that? We don't own anything worth fighting over. What are we going to divorce over? Our thrift store couch? Be the worst divorce ever. You're going to load that thing up and haul it off when you leave here. No, I loaded that piece of junk up once and brought it here. I'm not loading it back up again. Still got a cut on my leg from the spring that shoots through the bottom of it. I'm not touching it. The only time that I was ever worried that something like that might possibly happen to us is anytime she wants to play board games. Now, my wife is very competitive. So am I. That doesn't work out. Let me explain something to you fellas. You beat your wife 3 times in a row playing Connect 4. You're going to be connecting with the couch later on. Just the way life works out. But she had some people over one night. She said, hey, you know what we should do? Let's play a game. Yeah, that's a good idea. We haven't hated each other yet today. Let's do that. And she goes to the closet and she brings out the game Pictionary. I'm not going to belabor you guys with all the rules to Pictionary, but the last square on the board is called All Play. Whenever anybody's on that square, everybody draws the same word at the same time. Whichever team screams it out first wins. My turn to draw. For the win, look at the word gorilla. I can't draw a gorilla. But what I can do is this. I can draw a tree where she will guess tree. I will draw a banana in the tree. She will guess banana. And then I'm going to draw something in the tree hanging on to the banana. Looks like it's got a head and a tail and a foot. And she's going to go, monkey. And I'm going to give her this sign. And she's going to click down to gorilla. That's the way it's playing in my head. For the win, gorilla, tree, banana, chimpanzee, chimpanzee, and I know what's getting ready to happen. I'm starting to sweat. I can feel my pulse pick up a little bit, you know. It's not a chimpanzee? No. It isn't. Chimp, that's the same thing. Can't just shorten the word. And then you just lose your mind, start arguing with everybody. Tell well, Chad, you're not supposed to talk during Pictionary. Does it look like we're helping each other out over here? It took you 45 seconds to get light bulb. How about you worry about your own game? We end up losing. Of course. My fault. Of course. She asked me, goes, what was it? It was a gorilla. Chad, doesn't look like a gorilla. You're right, it doesn't. It doesn't look like a chimpanzee, and you guessed that 14 times. We got in an argument last winter over a puzzle. Do you know the amount of love and passion you have to have for another human being to be able to argue over a puzzle? I was coming in off the road, bad winter storm getting ready to hit where we live. Get in, garage door comes down, everybody's in, everybody's safe, okay? Now this is gonna be our time together. She turns on the Christmas lights, snow, big flakes, just starting to drift, you know, very Norman Rockwell-ish looking kind of thing. We turn off the phones, turn off the TVs. There's no one else in the world at that moment except for her and me. And I dump out this puzzle. Now, I know the first thing about putting together a puzzle is that you have to flip over the pieces where they're right side up. And I know that because I'm somebody that was raised by people. And I start flipping over all these pieces, and I hear my wife say, hey, I got one. What? I got one. Well, we need to flip over all the pieces first. I just thought I'd go ahead and start. You need to start by helping me flip over all the pieces. So we can do this together. Which is why we spent $8 at Dollar General in the first place. Well, I just need a little bit more yellow. Yeah, it probably looks brown because once again, all the pieces aren't flipped over yet. Fine, flip, flip. Now she's mad flipping, flip, 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 flip. We get them all flipped. I was like, okay, let's find all the edge piece. I don't want to start on the edge. I want to start in the middle. What are you, a serial killer? Who starts in the middle of a puzzle? I will get home tomorrow night, and she will have dinner fixed for me because she's wonderful like that. She is a better woman than I deserve. If something gets messed up with my flight and I get in late, she will have it wrapped up on the stove waiting for me because she's perfect. And she will even ask me what I want, and I get to pick. And sometimes I get that answer wrong. love saying that and watching all the young guys go, what does that mean? All the old married guys go like, I know what he's talking about. I got that. Yeah. She's not a good sleeper. I don't mean she has insomnia. This is how we sleep at night. We like to have the TV on. That's a very common thing. Now, and when it's winter and it's really cold, we like to crack the windows in our bedroom, brings in a little bit of the cold air, so you wrap up in the comforters, really helps you sleep well, right? Now, we live, like I said, in a very rural area, and our neighbor behind us run cattle that will moo at night. Now, our dogs hear this and will bark at the cattle. So to drown all this out, we turn on the fan in the bedroom. And when I say the fan, I don't mean the cute little plastic oscillating fan with the remote that you can buy. No, I mean like the big heavy metal box fans from the 40s that they had to stop producing because they had metal blades and people were falling into them, getting shoulders lopped off, you know. And that's how we sleep. So one night we have the TV on, cows mooing, dogs barking, propeller fans rattling. She rolls over, wakes me up, and goes, Chad, what? I think I heard something. I hope so. We got bigger problems to talk about. I don't hear very well out of my left ear, and she knows that, and she's very conscious about it, and she does a really good job of looking me directly in the face, and she will speak very slowly, enunciate everything very clearly, as long as she's giving me the most worthless piece of information she has at that time. And then if it's anything important that I need to know, it's a coin flip whether I ever get it or not, you know. She got home the other day, she goes, oh, you know what I saw coming up the driveway? What? A rabbit. Okay. She's like, oh, and don't forget about your doctor's appointment tomorrow. What doctor's appointment? Well, I told you I had a doctor. When did you tell me I had a doctor's appointment? Well, you were in the shower with the bathroom door closed. I was in the basement behind the furnace. You didn't hear me? Hold on, these are better if I can do them with a straight face. Give me a second. I don't know. Before this, I was a teacher. I taught high school English in the state of Missouri for a couple of years. Any teachers in here tonight by chance? Are you really? I really can't see you. Just yell it out. What do you teach? Art. Oh, okay, that's kind of different. You tell your students in art there's no such thing as a stupid question? That's such a lie, isn't it? Because let me tell you something, when you teach, not only are there stupid questions, those are generally the only kind you get. It's in the middle of October, my kids were studying Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Headless Horseman, that whole thing. I've got a kid in the back of the room raise his hand and said, Mr. Thornsberry, wouldn't that be really weird if Halloween and Friday the 13th happened on the same day? That'd be spooky. I had a kid tell me he was going to drop out of school. I said, what are you planning to do without a high school education? He said, don't worry about it. I'm going to get my EGD. Maybe. I knew teaching wasn't my chosen profession. I called in the office on the second day I had a parent mad at me. I walk in there and this dad jumps up. He said, I heard you called my daughter stupid. Like, I would never call your daughter stupid. I asked her if she was stupid. I know there seems like there should be a second part to that joke, but that's where that one ends. That's where we go on now. You know, The thing I was most proud of when I taught was I always developed a good rapport with my students, and they always knew they could come to me if they ever had problems with anything. That's one of the most important things, and I still believe that. I had a girl walk into my room before school one day, and she had been crying, and I asked her what was wrong. And she said, my boyfriend and my dad just got into a fight. And then my boyfriend was bringing me to school. He was taking it out on me, and he was calling me fat, and he was calling me lazy, and he was calling me dumb. I said, you'd want to be with that loser anyway. He doesn't respect the person you are today, which means he will never respect the person you're going to become in the future. And she said, you're so nice. I wish you were him. Like, I really don't make a good boyfriend. She said, I met my dad. You're really old. Like, whatever, fatty. I didn't say that. That's a joke. But out of all the things that I will say in any of my shows, that's the joke that people have an issue with. It's completely made up. It did not happen that way, but that's the one. I had a woman come up to me after a show one night. She's about 5'2", weighs about 340. I have no problem with that in the world. I don't care. She said, I didn't appreciate your little fat girl joke. She said, you can't judge people like that. You wouldn't know it by looking at me, but I'm a dietitian. You're right, you slipped that one right past me. I don't know. My wife ordered inspirational checks the other day. Which I think you should have a certain amount of money in the bank before you get the checks. It's really tough for me to seize the day when I've got 48 bucks looking at me, Whatever life throws at you, have the ability to bounce back. I don't want the word bounce written on any check I'm trying to give somebody. I was sitting at home the other day, and she was like, I said, my computer stopped working. She goes, oh, call Leanne's husband. He can fix anything with computers. Okay. So my truck's making this rattling sound. Call Sherry's husband. He's a mechanic. I'm like, does that ever bother you that you're not going to be that story in somebody else's house? Like, what are you talking about? There's never a couple sitting around going, honey, what's wrong? I just wish I could write some jokes about Pictionary and puzzles. Oh, call Dana's husband. That's what he does. Really help you out. I don't know how I turned out this way. I really don't. I blame it on my brother, actually. I have a brother that's 5 years older than I am, and he got all the toys when they were new. And if you're a younger brother or sister, see people already know, you don't get another new toy. You get the broken things being shoved in the back of the closet for years, He had a brand new CNC right out of the box. You get the animal, point the marker to the animal, pull the string, and makes a sound, the animal. By the time I got mine, the marker to the animal and the sound didn't even match anymore. You want to make sure a kid repeats kindergarten, you hand him a broken CNC. That's almost a guarantee. Listen to the cat. What? I read an amazing story about a guy that was killed by his cat. He is fixing dinner. His cat's walking along the counter, knocks over a loaded gun. It hits the floor, goes off, hits him in the head, kills him. That's tragic. I understand that. But if you're a guy and you have a loaded gun and there's still a cat walking around, kind of your fault. Not everybody appreciates that one. I gotta be real honest with you. If anybody in here was sincerely upset about the cat killing joke, I would like to apologize for it, but there's a second part to it, so buckle up. Here we go. My friend had a cat, and I couldn't stand it. I'm not a cat guy. I don't like him, so every time I'd go over to her place and sit down, it'd try to get around my foot, so when she wasn't looking, I'd try to kick it. But they're really quick. So like the time my foot was extended, it was already on the TV just looking at me going. So I went by one day and she was all upset. I'm like, you know what's going on? She said, my cat was killed. I'm like, really, what happened? She said it got crushed in the garage door. I'm like, oh, I'm really, how slow do I kick? My first See and Say had a wolf and a coyote on it, both. They expect a preschooler to be able to differentiate between a wolf and a coyote. I can't do that now. The only difference is I know it is a wolf will hunt smaller animals primarily at night, as opposed to a coyote and get a paintbrush and paint the side of a cliff to look like a train tunnel in about 2 seconds. Anybody here under 25 is like, what does that mean? What is that? I don't know if you guys could tell when I walk up here, but I'm a little bit hobbled. And I tell this story, it's not, oh, listen to what he's been through, listen to what he's overcome. But I tell the story because before this incident happened that I'm getting ready to tell you about, I had not spent a night in the hospital literally since the day I was born. I've been extremely, extremely lucky. But when you've been out of the hospital systems that long and then you're forced back into it, you're not aware of how the hospitals work. And I got to tell you, I'm not that big of a fan. I pull up the morning of my surgery and the guy goes, okay, you need to go on the second deck, go in the parking garage, hit the blue button on the machine. For what? Your ticket. What ticket? Your parking ticket. I have to pay to park at the hospital? Yes. Is Billy Joel playing inside or something? He goes, no, but when you leave, if you get this validated, it'll save you $1.50. Oh, perfect, because I'm sure when I leave here in 3 days, that's what I'm going to be concerned about is where's my $1.50, you know? Surgeon walks in, smartest man I've ever met in my life. He knows more about what he's getting ready to do to me than anything I'll ever know, ever. You want to know what he can't do? He can't use the pronoun we correctly. Because he tells me, Chad, you and I are on a team. We are going to work together. The first thing we are going to do, I'm like, Doc, we aren't doing a thing. You went to Harvard Medical School. I go to Provo, Utah to tell See and Say jokes for money. That's you. And I'm cool with that. How about you just give me something that's going to knock me out and you do whatever you think you should do? He's like, and he's telling me what's going to happen and here's what we're doing. And he keeps searching in his pockets. And as he's talking, he pulls out a marker and he writes R-O-K on my leg. And I'm like, please tell me you're not trying to spell the word rock for some reason. And he goes, no, those are my initials. Why are you signing my leg? He goes, that way when we get you in the operating room, we know for sure which leg to operate on. We're not using any of these fancy machines in here, you know? Trailer Park Boy gets a Sharpie? Is that what's going on? What happens if you can't find that? What if you left it in your office? What, are we down to a coin flip after that? Talking to the nurse, did you see which leg it was? Yeah, I was looking at it, it was in the mirror, it was kind of backwards. I don't know which way we go with it, I don't know. So he goes on and he walks off, and the nurse walks in. She said, Chad, I just want to tell you that you misfiled your paperwork. You left a question blank. Who would you like for us to contact in case of an emergency? And I said, how about another doctor? It kind of worries me that I have to tell you that in all honesty. She goes, okay, your final blood draw came back, everything looks good. Good luck. Whoa. What good luck? Is he not coming back? I'm not stuck with the dude from the parking garage, am I? It's like, no, that's just something we say. No, that's what the waitress told me last night at the Mexican restaurant, and I know how that night ended up. Good luck. But like I said, I'm very lucky. Everything came out very, very well until I'm laying at home a couple of weeks later and I get the first bill. Mr. Thornsberry, if your insurance does not provide for this, this is going to be the amount you're responsible for, $186,000. Well, yep, good luck. Oh, wait, give me that back. Hand that back. Hand me minus $1.50. I have a daughter from a previous marriage. My wife has 2 daughters from a previous marriage, so we had to get the new family picture taken, which is fine. I love my family, but it bugs me the kind of poses that photographers put you in. No one's ever leaned up against a tree like this. Ever. Never happened. They always do that finger laced on the fence post kind of. Let me tell you something. I grew up on a farm. I have fixed a lot of fence. If I'm ever working with my dad and he looks down the fence line at me and I'm looking back at him doing this, that's a hay-filled butt kicking coming up. You know what that is. I just had to ask the photographer, like, why do you put us in poses like that? I just like things to look natural. This is what he expects you to believe for our natural family picture. He just had me walking through the woods with a camera and a tripod, comes across an abandoned barn. In front of this barn are strategically placed railroad ties. On these ties, from shortest to tallest, is a family of 5 looking at him, smiling, wearing matching sweaters. You know how creepy that'd be in real life? You just walked up on that? Two days before I got married, one of my best friends sent me an article, and it was about a couple that got divorced. Now, what the judge did, he gave the wife 86% of the marital estate, gave the husband 14%, but let the husband pick any 14% he wanted. He took, like, TVs and cars and things like that. But what if that would ever be me? I would take my 14%, but only if it's going to directly affect her 86%. What, you want the dryer? Fine, I want the dryer door. I'm going to go to the refrigerator. I'm taking the straws off all the Capri Suns. All of them. Those are mine. Give them here. Open them up with a fork the way the pioneers did. I don't know what to tell you. You want the truck? Fine. I'll take the brakes. Tried to help my wife plan for our wedding and learned a lot of things about myself that I didn't know. I discovered that I was colorblind because she sent me to the store to bring back something that was corn flour, and I brought back something that was periwinkle. Because I'm a raging lunatic, apparently. And I can't believe how upset she is about this. You can't tell the difference between these 2 colors? Hey, I didn't know those were colors. Well, this one obviously has purple in it. No. You know what obviously has purple in it? Purple. That's what obviously has a little splash of purple to it. Won't let it go. Has to justify it. Well, you should know what color cornflower is. That was the color we had in our crayon boxes when we were in school. Wasn't in my crayon box Princess 64 crayons, flip top, fancy sharpener in the back. Hear all those people? You want me to tell you who they are? Those are the other broke kids like me that had the Crayola 8 beginner box. The jumbos, that kind. I almost flunked art in 1st grade because of those crayons. The teacher walked over and was like, Chad, you really got out of the lines here when you're coloring the sun. I know my yellow crayon weighs 9 pounds and I'm 6. Kids would always ask to come to borrow my crayons. I think it was just to mess with me, because I only had 8. Chad, you have scarlet? No, I have red. Oh, do you have mahogany? No, that would be brown. Really, do you have tan? Yeah, it's brown. You just color really lightly. Okay, I've got one more chunk of stuff. I'm going to get out of your way. Let you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Sometimes when I get put on the road, I get put in situations where I don't feel comfortable. And I don't mean a bad situation. I grew up in a trailer park in Missouri, for heaven's sake. I can deal with bad situations. But sometimes I get put in a really, really great situation, and I don't know how to deal with it. Like a top-of-the-line 5-star hotel. I'm not a top-of-the-line 5-star hotel kind of guy. I'm a guy that wears a jacket on stage, so only have to iron this part of my shirt kind of guy. I don't like it. You know what a top-of-the-line 5-star hotel doesn't have? The complimentary breakfast. I need the complimentary breakfast. I don't care about the thread count on your pillowcases. I want some free waffles. I love a free hotel breakfast so much sometimes I'll have one at a hotel I didn't stay. That is not a joke. So here's my story. I'm doing a corporate shows for Pepsi in Chicago, a really, really good gig. And I pull up to the hotel. It's like part of the old architectural part of downtown Chicago. And I'm looking at this wondrous building. I'm like, oh, man, I am not going to fit in this place at all. As I'm staring at the door to my truck opens, as I'm turning out the corner of my eye, I see somebody start to get in. So just out of reaction, I just turn and shove this guy. And he kind of stumbles backwards. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He said, sir, I'm your valet. I was like, oh. But in my defense, I don't drive the kind of vehicle that you typically valet. I drive the kind of vehicle before somebody else gets in it, you need to start explaining things about it. If anybody else ever had this, you know you have to give them that speech because you don't want anybody hurt. But you really don't want to admit what kind of death trap you're willing to drive on a daily basis? You're going to park this? Yes, sir. Okay. Just so you know. Probably won't even happen. But occasionally, if you make a really sharp left-handed turn, and the defrost switch is slid all the way to the right, the back wheel pops off. Oh no. I'm not a mechanic. I think it's a wiring issue, but I don't know that. And he goes, sir, everything will be just fine. Gets in, shuts the door, leaves, or tries to shut the door. But he's never been in a vehicle before where shutting the door is more than a one-step process. He's never been in that pull and lift door shut. That you have to lift the exact correct second or your door, boom, you're early, boom, you're late. Screaming at him like it's his fault my door won't close. So we end up getting his door closed and he's rattling it down the street. I'm like, okay, which way is he going to go? Makes that big sweeping left. I'm like, all right, dude, you're on your own. I don't know. I don't know how much clearer I could have been about that. Go in and I try to check in. I was like, yeah, I'm the comedian doing the show tonight. She said, okay, perfect. She said, your room's ready. She said, I just need a credit card. I said, well, Pepsi was supposed to take care of my room. He said, no, Pepsi paid for the room. I just need your card for incidentals. I was like, oh, okay. I'm not going to have any. She goes, no, that's just if you call down and get room service. You see a movie on TV. You want? No, I know what the word means. I'm just explaining I'm not going to have any of this. And she kind of looks around, making sure nobody's near, leans across the counter. She goes, well, it's kind of just pretend. What are you talking about? How about I pretend to hand you a card? You can make believe to swipe it if it makes you feel better, I guess. And I'll for real go to sleep. She said, I can't lock your room without a card on file. Okay, here's my card. She runs. She goes, oh, I'm sorry, it was declined. My pretend charge just got rejected? I'm not a wealthy man. I thought I could afford free. She goes, well, our machines wouldn't accept the cards. I said, do you take inspirational checks? I don't know what else you're doing. She said, well, we don't charge the card, but we put amount of a hold on it, and it wouldn't accept that amount. I said, how much was that amount? She said, $750. So do you think our machines are malfunctioning? Nope. I think those are working perfectly. I spit my card out quick, didn't I? I was watching. Those are pretty good machines. I mean, they ended up letting me in my room, which they did not have to do. Very nice of them. They didn't have to do that. And all the years I've ever done this, I had never received a call on the hotel phone. It's kind of weird. After a few minutes, my phone started ringing. I was like, hello? She said, yeah, this is Becky from downstairs. I was just wondering how your room looks. Have you never been up here? You can come up here and look around if you want. It's all right. I mean, it's not worth $750 and no waffles, but it's okay, I guess. She goes, I was just worried if you had any concerns. I'm a little concerned your valet's not going to make it back. Guys, I've got to go. You've been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.